Now, the next example that the Supreme Court pointed out was the Pilgrims who arrived in 1620. Why did the Supreme Court say that they constituted proof that America was founded as a Christian nation? Well, listen.
When the Pilgrims arrived here in 1620, did they have any biblical impact on America? Certainly they did, and this again was cited by the Supreme Court. For you see, the Pilgrims had tried very hard to land at the Virginia colony. God evidently didn't want them there. He blew them off course to the north, and so they landed well far north on Plymouth. When they landed at Plymouth, there was no civil government there, and they refused to disembark from the ship until they had established a civil government. So they stayed on ship, and they created what's called the Mayflower Compact. Now, the Mayflower Compact is recognized by textbooks even today as the first government document created on this continent. It's the first one created on this side of the ocean. Everything else had been brought over under a king, under a land charter. When these colonists decided that they wanted to create the Mayflower Compact, it was very simple. It was only 2 paragraphs long. It was less than 200 words. Now, prior to World War II, you could find the Mayflower Compact in every single textbook in America. It was a tiny little document. You've not been able to find the Mayflower Compact since about that time. Why not? It's very simple. Now, this is our first government document created here. Paragraph 1 says, we've come here for the purpose of the evangelization of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Paragraph 2 said, when we get off the ship, that's what we're going to do. And that's the first government document that was created here. And the Supreme Court proceeded to cite that as evidence of the fact that, again, we were established on Christian principles. They cited the Mayflower Compact, saying, having undertaken for the glory of God and the advancement of the Christian faith a voyage to plant the first colony in the northern parts of Virginia, and now, not having arrived there, we've decided we'll do it here. And so they gave in the second paragraph, it said, we combine ourselves together into a civil body politic for the furtherance of the ends aforesaid. We came here to propagate the gospel of Jesus Christ, and that's exactly what we intend to do. And that's the first government document created here. Now, when they landed, they were also responsible for some other changes that we now have in our government. For when they landed, they adopted what the Jamestown colony had used, which is a form of government that we would say is a socialistic form of government. You see, the ancients, be it Plato, be it Socrates, they had all advocated that if you want a perfect society, you need a communal type society where that everyone looks out for everyone else. Everyone watches out for the interests of others. You have joint things in common. It is what today we would call socialism. And that's what the Pilgrims labored under for the first year, actually the first 2 years. And the writings of the Pilgrims themselves, of their own governor, indicate that they had great difficulty. After 2 years, they were having such trouble with theft and with laziness, they thought there's got to be a better way. And in their reading of the Scriptures, they came across 1 Timothy 5:8, which said that if you don't provide for your own household, you're worse than an infidel, you've denied the faith. And they backed up and said, we're not providing for our own household, we're providing for everyone else's household. We don't have anything for ourselves, it's all in common. And so what they did was they called a town meeting. They brought them all together. They did as they had found in Psalms. In Psalms, it said that God took the solitary and He put them in families. So they took the single among them, they assigned them to families. And then they divided out the land, and they gave each family a plot of land. They said, this is your land. If you work it, you won't go hungry. But if you refuse to work it, you'll be hungry. You must now provide for your own family. Now, that is the early stages of what we would call the free enterprise system. But that came directly out of the Bible, out of 1 Timothy 5:8, and within 2 years, they had such productivity, they weren't having trouble with laziness or theft, that the Virginia Company abandoned what they were doing, which was a socialistic form, and adopted the new form by the Pilgrims, which came right out of the Scriptures, 1 Timothy 5:8. So many of the government institutions that we have and cherish today have biblical roots.